to another edition of Tunnel Vision, a show brought to you by USCFootball.com. We're going to shift it up a little bit. Yeah, we talk football all the time. It's May, not a lot going on, but you know what is going on? USC won its fourth consecutive national championship, 4 in a row, four-peat, that's crazy, in beach volleyball. And we have two of the stars of the team, the volleyball twins, beach volleyball twins. Audrey and Nicole are here in studio. Follow them on Twitter at BeachVBTwins or on Instagram at Beach Volleyball Twins. Ladies, thanks so much for coming in studio and talking a little beach volleyball with us.
Thank you for having us. We're very excited to be here.
Thanks so much for having us. We're super excited.
No, I'm excited too. It's good that I love playing beach volleyball. Back in my USC days, I played on the club team at USC. It wasn't that good, but I did okay. And but you guys are like national champions, big time players. 4 years in the program, 4 national championships. That's pretty. I don't know if it's like if you guys wrapped your mind around that yet, but that seems pretty ridiculous accomplishment.
Yeah, it is pretty surreal. It's, coming in when we were being recruited by USC, we always knew we wanted to go to a winning program and we wanted to win national championships. We didn't know that would be 4. And so we're just very, very grateful for our time there and just to be surrounded by such amazing individuals.
Yeah, I put up some pictures here from the championship that you guys put up, and it's for the second year in a row you guys were able to secure the championship point, which I don't, it's crazy. I'll put the quick video up of that. But what was that like? Do you know the moment your whole team is kind of waiting for one of these games to end and it's yours and you guys win the point and then it's over?
Yeah, we kind of knew the cadence of the game and the point that we were at. I think by the third set, so I think all of the games went to 3 sets, all 5 matches, which was really exciting. It didn't feel as intense as it was in the moment, just being in it. It felt like a normal game, but obviously you kind of know it's the national championship game. And we looked at each other and we said, enough, we got to finish this. We got to put a point on the board for our team. And thankfully it just ended up happening on our court, and our teammates were there to support us, and it was a really great team win.
Yeah, crazy to think about how everything that went down in that match. I was watching, second year in a row, last year, like probably not the favorite, coming into it. Yeah. UCLA was, and you get to play them again. You guys split during the season, and, all 3 of the first sets, USC loses the first set, come back to win the second one and then win it in 3. And that's like, it's pretty crazy the way it all sort of went down. I don't know. You said you were warming up during the time, but it was pretty tense early on, those 2s and the 4s, to see them, fall behind and then come back and win.
It was pretty tense, but I think it just goes to show our endurance as a team. And I can only speak for ourselves, but I think that we have the strongest team physically in the nation, just with what our strength coach has put us through. We're kind of built for that. We're built for those third sets, and I put us at the top every time we head into a third set across the board, all of our teams. And as we were warming up for that game, it was pretty nerve-wracking, but at the end of the day, Nick and I always focus on ourselves because as long as we do our job, get a point on the board, we trust that our teammates will do the same, and I think everyone had that mindset going into it, and so we were kind of just able to build off of each other, and cherry on top was winning it, of course, but yeah. UCLA,
again, I mean, what is USC football fans do not like UCLA at all. What kind of rivalry is there? Because you guys have played together and you know these girls pretty well. What's the rivalry like? And obviously getting to get over on them in a couple national championships has to feel pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, the rivalry is everything. It is so fitting that the top 2 teams for the past 7-8 years in our sport have been USC and UCLA. I mean, you couldn't write it any better, right? And when you're an athlete and you're involved directly in that rivalry, you learn to love it, and it's really strong. We're really competitive. When it's we all love each other. We're all friends on and off the court. We personally, most of the girls on the USC team knows all of the girls on the UCLA team, But when you're in season, you want to rip each other apart. And it's kind of a mutual, it's respect. You're
mutual
great
respect.
competitors. And when you're off the court, you're really cordial and you're great friends. But I think that it just makes the experience that much more enjoyable because you get to represent this tradition that's carried on for decades.
What's the difference between like the team, you had last year where it seemed like it was more maybe rebuilding a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then this year, like, okay, it's 3 in a row, you can kind of build on it. Did the teams feel pretty different where maybe you were more target on your back this year than maybe last year, even though you were defending national champs?
Yeah, I don't think it's funny. Like people always ask, like, oh, do you feel like you have a target on your back now that you've won 3 and you want to win 1 more? But like my answer to that is since we first stepped foot on the USC campus, our freshman year pre-COVID, we always had a target on our back. USC beach volleyball has had a target on its back since its inception, and that's just because everyone constantly always wants to beat us, and that's I guess what it means to be the top program in the nation is that the pressure is always there, and so for us, we always say that pressure is a privilege, and yes. Going into this year, we had won 3 national championships, and it was we really wanted to win a 4th, but the way we approached it, it felt the same. It didn't really feel any different because USC is just such a coveted program, and so it's just a blessing to wear the jersey at the end of the day.
Do you guys have sort of a favorite memory? I mean, you talk to people that were. A friend of mine was on like one of the women's soccer national championships, it was a while back, but that's like a memory of like, hey, we won a national championship as when I was a sophomore or whatever year it was. It's like you won it every year.
Yeah.
It's like wait, like I was just kind of like, there's a lot of good memories, but is there like 1 or 2 that you can kind of point out? Like, I mean, the results you've had in college is just unprecedented, but is there 1 or 2 moments that maybe kind of stand out to you guys?
Maybe I'll go first. And
yeah, sure.
I think, like, for me, last year, having it come down to our court was probably one of the coolest moments ever.
Yeah.
Because going into that 3rd set, we knew very well that it could come down to us, and then it ended up being just that. And so to kind of have it all in your hands was a pretty crazy feeling. And when we ended up getting that championship match point, it was I think I blacked out. I don't think I fully remember what happened. I saw on video and just pure joy. And to be surrounded by all our teammates, it was a pretty amazing feeling that I'll never forget.
And that was, you guys were, there was like, it was 2-2 at that point, right?
Yeah.
So this year you guys had the final point, but there was still 2 other
Right.
matches going on. So someone else could have won it. Like this was, if you lose, you lose. If you win, you win. So that would make sense.
Yeah, I think the coolest part about that story too is when right before we were about to play, our team miraculously went up 2-0 against UCLA, 2 matches to 0 matches. And then we were on the second flight or set of teams playing. And, like you said, it was a quote unquote rebuilding year. We really weren't supposed to win. But it was kind of like a miracle, but it happened and it was awesome. And full faith for the players out there playing. They killed it. I remember pulling Audrey aside and telling her, hey, this is coming down to us. You have to believe it. We need to put a point on the board because it's going to come down to us. And it was just so cool. That's exactly how it played out. That's exactly how it was written. A big part of our experience as an athlete is manifesting things. That's something that we really take great care into, and it's something that we've done every year for the last 4 years in the program. And it's just been so beneficial to put yourself in the right headspace to really capitalize on those moments.
We're going to talk to Dain Blanton a little bit later on in the show. We've had him on a couple of times. He came in last year with his son after winning the 3-peat. It was pretty cool to kind of see that. But what I think I remember talking to him about this too. But what is the coaching like? Maybe during the season when you're playing matches, and then also in the national championship tournament where there's 2 courts going at once and then 3. Like, how is that split up, and what is the kind of coaching like, and how much are you getting help because you stop every 7 points to switch sides and stuff? Are you getting coaching during, like, how does that all kind of work when you're playing?
Yeah, it's interesting. So for beach volleyball, your coach can only talk to you on side switches or timeouts. And so when you're in the game playing, you're really not supposed to receive coaching. And so you kind of have to be able to be self-dependent in that sense. But the national championship, even Pac-12 too, is really interesting because you have 2 flights of teams, and so you usually have one coach per court. This year we had Dain Blanton on our coach. The last couple of years we've had Gustavo Rocha, and it's mostly some strategic things and just keeping us calm, keeping us in a really calm, steady headspace. Because for us as a team, us as players, that's what really benefits us most. I think that as athletes and as volleyball players, we're very analytical, we're very technical, and so we know immediately if we do something wrong. So when we have a coach that's just sort of there to keep us calm, keep us moving forward with every play, I think that's what really sets us up. And I think Dain did a great job of that towards the end of the season this year.
Yeah, and he especially did a great job with the strategy too, I think, from him. Gustavo is probably known for his strategy.
Yeah, we call him volleyball wizard.
He's the wizard. It's another level of strategy when it comes to coaching. But Dain we've seen such an improvement from him over the last 4 years in that sense. And to be able to receive that from him this year and have him as more of our box coach this year was really special.
Yeah, Gustavo plays in Hermosa 29th Street a lot of times. I agree
He's
with
really
guys that
good.
play that. Yeah,
He's really good.
I don't play that group a lot, but every once in a while. But I don't remember if I've ever played with him. But my friends are like, "You played there down there?" I'm like, "I don't remember." He's like, "Oh, he's the USC coach." So I'll have to. I'm sure I played down there with him at some point. So he's the strategy wizard guy.
Yeah, I mean they both are at this
they're
point.
both- yeah.
They both are. They're phenomenal.
When you're playing, is there an advantage? You guys are sisters, twins. Like whenever you have a partner situation, if you guys don't know, you're playing doubles. Sometimes there's highs and lows. Your partner's not playing well, or you are. And what is the dynamic like between you guys? I mean, you guys known each other obviously your whole lives. How has that helped and kind of pick each other up like when you're playing?
There's so much to this question.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, sorry.
years and years and years of work in progress and figuring out how to be the best for each other and be the best for ourselves. And we've had a sports psych since we were 16 years old, and we really owe 90% of our performance, if not all of it, to that. Because if you're not in the right headspace, no matter how talented you are, you're not going to be able to consistently play the way you want. And so that's been a really big part of our game. And I think when you've played together for 10 plus years and having that chemistry and just knowing so much about the other person, it ultimately instills trust in everything you do. And for us, it just gives us confidence, and confidence is competence. And so that allows us to go out and play the way we want together and hopefully play successfully together.
Yeah. That's funny when you play, and it's interesting that you have, so people don't know, if you're a right-handed player, it's usually easier. Your strong side would be on the left, and if you're a left-handed player, strong side's on the right. You have one of each, so it's pretty simple. You guys can kind of go to your spots. Has that been helpful too? That one of you guys is lefty and one of you is righty.
Oh yeah,
Totally. I think it's a huge advantage. There were another set of twins that played at UCLA, and they left right before we came in, and they're Canadian, and they're the McNamara twins, and they were also left and right-handed, and it was really cool because we looked up to them, and they played off each other so well, and that's definitely something that we've tried to accomplish during our time at USC is not just going into college and being able to say, hey, we're on the USC beach volleyball team, but going into college and improving every year. We're confident in the fact that we believe that this last year was probably our best volleyball that we've played and the strongest that we've been, and we've jumped the highest that we've ever jumped. So I think in that sense we've been able to push each other, and it translates on the court.
What was like the biggest challenge this year, knowing that you were three-time champs and the number 1 team and people expecting you to win?
It's funny because it's like 3-time champs. That never was a thought across our head, I don't think. It's funny. That's not what we identify ourselves as. And some of our younger athletes, there'll be NCAA rankings every week, and they'll always send in the rankings. And it got to a point where we're like, stop sending rankings. Rankings don't mean anything. They don't, because you're not supposed to peak at the beginning of season. You're supposed to peak at the end. And I think that's a really important lesson that we've learned over our time at USC.
Yeah, and I think like going off of that, like despite winning 3 in a row, it doesn't change the DNA of our program. And like a big part of the DNA of our program is every single day we focus on getting 10% better. Whether that's the first day we step on USC campus in August or it's the last day of NCs, we're just trying to get 1 to 10% better than we did yesterday. And so when you have that type of growth mindset, it allows you to do a lot without having to think too much, without feeling too much pressure. And, we owe it to having just such, a strong foundation to what we do at USC beach volleyball.
What do you think the strengths of each of your game are? And then maybe give me an aspect of like something that you probably improved on the most maybe this last year in the program.
I think for me, my side out is probably my best strength between the two of us. Mm. Growing up, I kind of got more serves because not many want to deal with a lefty. But yeah, no, first couple years of college, I was getting kind of the most of the serves, and so that really helped me with my side out percentage, and it allowed me to side out 80% per game or around there, which I think is probably my best trait. And then something this year that we really focused on getting better at is serving. That's, for us, our side out has always been like a primary focus, but serving is just as important, if not more, and it really sets up how you set up your defense. And for us, being split blockers, like we're not the biggest block out there. We're 5'11", and we're going up against 6 foot and above. And so we really put a premium on our serve in order to get some points there so that we wouldn't have to rely so much on our side out.
Yeah, and I think for me, just to add on, I think kind of the cornerstone of our game is probably our side out as a team. And for me, I think just being left-handed and being able to capitalize that and exploit that over other players in terms of hitting around the block and being just putting the ball away. I think that's definitely a strength of mine. As a team, I don't want to be I'm not trying to be overly confident, but I think that we're exceptional hand setters, and it's something that we have spent so much time developing. We have really big hands, and we are using them probably 95% of the time.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, we don't.
And it's a huge part of our game. It makes us.
No matter how windy.
Yeah, well, handset always. But it just makes us really dynamic. We can run a lot of different plays. We can spread our offense. We can run fake backs. We can jump set if we want to. Haven't capitalized on that totally yet, but it's an option. So I think the hand setting is definitely an advantage to us as well.
How tight are they calling sets? So if people are taking the ball above your head with your hands, if you lift, or you double, you can get called. Is that something that's called a lot at that level?
Yeah. So it is. If it's wrong, it gets called. There's some 50-50 calls, but usually they're pretty adamant about the set, and it's kind of interesting. I think over the last even 2 years, the hand setting calls have slightly changed. You used to see refs calling a lot more spins if the ball's spinning a lot, but now what they call more is if your hands are shifting like this, they're going to call it right away, even if it doesn't have much spin. Or right now, they also call a lot of lifts. And so I think the game is shifting where they want faster sets, and they're a little bit more lenient with how much the ball spins, which is just something interesting that we've noticed over the last year. But.
Okay. Yeah, because the indoor one, it's usually a quicker, you're running plays and stuff. But beach, traditionally, there would be the deep dish ones and stuff. There's not a lot of that anymore.
Oh, no, it's still deep dish.
But it's still deep dish, but it's slightly nuanced.
Not too low.
Yeah.
The serving thing is interesting because it seemed like just from watching, the matches that I was watching, you can put so much pressure on someone with really tough serves, but it's also can kind of be demoralizing when you just miss the serve and there's a thing right there. So, I mean, it's kind of like a fine line. You want to serve tough, but you can't be missing a lot of serves.
Yeah, I mean,
it's true.
We make sure to work off each other too. For example, if I'm missing my serve, Audrey will say, "Hey, just keep it in, let me go for it. I got you." Well, it'll pick up or keep going for it because it's going to land. So I think that, the vocabulary that we have together is really important because, you go through ebbs and flows of your game. You're going to miss a few serves. Eventually, it'll always get back on track. It's how do you put your mind in the right place so you're comfortable to get back on track.
Yeah, and I think another thing too with the serving is that, like, the majority of teams, just if you look at it from like a number standpoint, beach volleyball, you're supposed to side out. Like any team usually has a high side out percentage, and that's over 50% usually. And so they're supposed to side out. So if you miss a serve, it's like, okay, well, a point's a point, and what if we made it and they sided out that ball anyway and we lost the point? So we try to not weigh one point differently than another point, which I think helps us in the long run and hopefully keeping more serves in than not.
How was the wind down there? Because if it obviously can be a big part of beach volleyball. It seemed like for the championship day there was more wind than maybe some of the other days.
Actually,
It was actually nicer.
Yeah.
Than some
was
of the
it?
other
Oh, okay.
surprisingly.
Listen, they were saying on the broadcast, they were talking about who was on the wind side and it was more advantage.
It was definitely a factor. And actually, no, it was. I think Sunday may have been a little bit
Picked up a
windier
little bit.
than Saturday. But it's a huge factor. Every year in Gulf Shores, it's a really big factor. And we pride ourselves on the fact that we love playing in the wind. And you can use it either to your advantage or to your disadvantage. And so we try to use it to our advantage. And obviously there's a lot of tactical things that go along with it. But it's a very important part of the game. And I think we attribute too to, growing up, we always trained in Manhattan Beach, and it would get really windy on Tuesday and Thursday late night afternoons. And so I think having that in our back pocket really helped as well.
Yeah, the Gulf Shore thing is interesting. I mean, you get to play all the way down there. I remember talking to Dain about this last year, but it seemed like it was set up well, but you would rather have it in Southern California. Now it's moving out here. I know it's little.
I think we're a little bit biased.
You'd rather have it out there.
I mean, we've won
We
4
love it.
championships there, so you
Okay, fair
can't
enough.
not even as like a it's comfortable. Like
Yeah.
it's just this place that we love. Like our team loves to go there. We love to play there. And it's so funny because the only time you're going to go to Gulf Shores, at least for us, is to play in a national championship. And that it creates such a kind of, it adds this exclusivity to it. It props it up on a pedestal, and it becomes this place with this built up aura and this environment that's really intense, and it's there for the taking. So I think all of that was what really attracted us to it, and our team loved it. But on the flip side, I think the volleyball community will benefit more from the national championship being in a place like Huntington Beach, which is where it will be in May of 2025. And I hope that people will go out and watch, because we'll be there. That'll bring more eyes to the sport. Maybe you could get a bigger broadcasting deal. I don't know. Maybe you could do ESPN for the whole weekend instead of just the final. But all in all, there's pros and cons to both.
Yeah, I was curious to see if you guys really I guess you go out there the first time and win a championship, like, oh, let's keep coming. And
Yeah.
But it looks pretty. I mean, you wouldn't think like
Beautiful.
Alabama for like beach volleyball, but it looked like it's a really cool venue and everything.
It's really cool. I when we first got out there our sophomore year, I was shocked, honestly, because you think Alabama, you don't think beautiful white sandy beaches and warm weather. You think warm weather, but it was. It's always just and winning the championships is the cherry on top, but really just the experiences we've had with our teammates there every year it's unforgettable.
The sand. So if people don't know, like a lot of times, like the Twins said they trained here in Manhattan Beach. People from all over the world come and train in the South Bay. Just the sand is really deep, and it's sort of like if you're a runner, you would rather run in like Denver, where it's harder to breathe. And then if you run a marathon at sea level, it's just easier. It's just kind of the place people come train. What's the sand at Gulf Shores kind of compared to what it is here?
Yeah, it's a bit more shallow.
Really shallow.
So which makes it fun.
'Cause you can jump higher.
Jump
right?
higher,
Jump
hit
higher,
harder.
hit harder. Sometimes you have to adjust your defense accordingly, and maybe your block set up accordingly. But we try not to weigh into it too much, and we just try to remember that every team is in the same position and is experiencing the same, the same conditions that we are. So we try not to weigh into it too much, but it's definitely a bit more jumpy.
Yeah, no, I think it's nice because if you're fast, it really helps, and you're able to just get off the ground really, really easily. And so we like it, but at the end of the day, we're indifferent because everyone's in the same conditions.
What's the future of you guys are moving on obviously with your eligibility, but what's the future for what you're seeing from USC beach volleyball?
I think we're gonna see a couple more championships in the near future. I mean, the blueprint is just phenomenal. The blueprint for success is phenomenal, and Dain, Gustavo, Emily, the coaches at USC are just every single year cultivating a really, really strong winning culture. And luckily too, my sister and I and other players on our team like Delaney Maple, Megan Kraft, all our grad students, we've done a good job just as leaders bringing in the younger girls so that they understand this is how things are done, this is how we run things here. This is why we play, this is who we're playing for, and everything that goes into it. And so I think hopefully we've done a good job of passing down that to the younger girls so that one day they can do the same for the next generation coming in.
Yeah, I really think, like she said, the blueprint is unparalleled. I don't think it's matched. I really don't. I think because of that, I think the sky's the limit for USC beach volleyball.
It's a relatively new sport. Figuring USC and UCLA would be good at it, no shock there. You guys, been the best program around. But are people catching up? Like, what is because it's a relatively new sport, are you seeing other programs like, wow, these guys are a lot better than before?
No, it's so cool to see. Every year the tournament has grown a lot. More teams are playing in it. You're seeing the whole landscape of beach volleyball become a lot less saturated. TCU next year is going to be amazing. FSU has always been really good. Cal Poly this year went from 20 to 3 in one season, which is insane.
Stanford was phenomenal.
Stanford this year was amazing. LMU is always up there. Long Beach, Hawaii, and so there's so many teams that are like, for us, we really have to approach every team the same because it's really, really good competition, which makes it a lot more fun. But it's exciting to see because the sport is just growing so much, and more importantly, it's getting a lot more competitive.
Yeah. Well, what about the future for you guys? No more eligibility training now. What's next for the volleyball twins?
We're just gonna keep pursuing our sport, go for it professionally, and see what happens. If we have to pivot and adjust, then we will. But at this point, we're gonna go for it.
You're finishing up. You guys are both finishing up grad school at USC.
Yes.
Yep.
And you guys have a podcast too.
Yep.
So
we
you
do.
Plug that. Tell people about where they can listen to that.
Yeah, it's the Double Take podcast. We interview USC student athletes and just really dive deep into their experiences beyond the court and really what makes them who they are, what makes them special, and just kind of dive a bit deeper than what you would see on a broadcast or on a stat sheet or a win-loss record. So, it's the Double Take podcast. It's on Spotify, and give it a listen. It's a good one. We've thoroughly enjoyed the experience.
So you're going to keep going?
Yeah, we'll probably keep going. I mean, we will be another year at USC,
I think TBD.
Yeah, it's a TBD. but hopefully we can, because it's really been a pleasure.
So you'll stay at USC, finish your grad school there,
Yes.
and then train.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, what's I guess professional goals, like what's out. I'm not super familiar with what the with AVP or wherever, like international stuff. Like what would you like to do?
Yeah, I think we plan on staying domestically and dominating on the AVP if we can, and just really building our presence here in America. And then I kind of over the next year, we want to see where the AVP's at, see just what the competition looks like, take things as they come, and then figure out what's next. But yeah, that's the plan for now.
Nice. Well, I really appreciate you guys coming in. It's a pleasure. I mean, when you look at your college resume, is going to look better than 99.9% of anyone that's ever played a sport, because 4 years of eligibility and 4 national championships, it's tough to beat that one. So you guys came in 2020? Was that the year you came in? Or?
So we came in 2019,
Okay.
and then due to COVID, we got a 5th year of eligibility. So this last year was our 5th year.
Okay. So it's coming in there. It's pretty amazing what you guys were able to do. But thanks again for coming on. Where else can they get you? Instagram, Beach Volleyball Twins?
Yep, that's it.
So check it out. And then, make sure you listen to the Double Take podcast and check that out. Thanks again for coming in. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back with their head coach, Dain Blanton, four-peat for USC. So back in a minute, everyone. All right, we're back here on Tunnel Vision. It was great talking to the beach volleyball twins. Now we have their coach, Dain Blanton, has joined us in studio. Follow him on Twitter at Dain Blanton. He was, Olympic gold medalist back in 2000. I think just the USA Volleyball Hall of Fame, I think, was a recent inductee. And, of course, now four-peat. We had him here the last 2 years, the repeat, the three-peat, and now the four-peat. But Dain Blanton, thanks so much for coming in.
Well, thanks for having me. And, a lot of exciting stuff going on. Winning the 4th national championship, it really hasn't even sunk in yet. I've been doing as much media and celebrating as much as we can, and while it's hot, because you know how the news cycle in Los Angeles is pretty fast. But doing a lot of podcasts, doing a lot of TV stuff, and it was all about the women of Troy. The student athletes were spectacular, and it's just been a blessing to be able to coach them.
No, it's great. Congratulations again. I know last year it was interesting because you guys were sort of rebuilding, back-to-back championships, and you had taken over, and the COVID year, and then boom, you guys hit the ground running, and it seemed like, man, it's gonna be tough. It's a rebuilding year. You guys end up winning it again. Yeah. This year was a little different, right? Like you were the target was on your back. Did it feel different this year of being the favorite and then being able to hold on really at the end and win it all again?
Well, yeah, very different from last year. People were kind of counting us out. We lost 12 players between 22 and 23. So to come back, win that national championship was something special in that 3rd consecutive win. And then this year we got some grad transfers. We had a really solid senior core with the Nourse twins, Delaney Maple and Megan Kraft, and then some grad students that came over. So we were really strong. We had a lot of mileage on the players, a lot of older players with a lot of high volleyball IQ, and that's what really took us to the top. We faced a lot of adversity, as you saw in the final, losing a lot of the first sets, but we were resilient, we were strong, and we knew how to get to the finish line.
I wanted to talk about that because I was watching, and we talked about this before. They do it a little differently in the Pac-12s and the national championship, where you have the different flights, and you have two to start, right? Two pairs go out, and then you have 3 more, and both of those pairs lose their first set, and then come back to win the second, come back to win the third. So it's 2-0. It could have been 0-2. I mean, it was. Yeah. How hairy was that? Those first couple,
Yeah, it was sketchy. After we started down pretty quick, I was on the number 2 court, and you want to make sure in that first round you get one of them. So at least you're 1-all going into the second flight when there's 3 matches. But we got down early, and we got down on, I believe, both courts and lost that first set, and it was a little sketchy. And we knew it was going to go 3 sets in both of those with the 2s and the 4s. And we just kind of focused on technique and focused on our training rather than you look at the scoreboard, that puts you in even more trouble. So they were able to focus on their training and really face some adversity there and turn the tables where all the momentum looked like it was on UCLA's side, and then they flipped it.
Yeah, the momentum was a big part of it. I was watching at home, and you're watching the broadcast, and they would kind of flip back and forth, and it's like, down, 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 and then for whatever reason they come back, and then that when the final 3 pairs kind of go out, what's the attitude that like wow, that could have been we're just trying to scratch out 1 and you end up getting 2? Like what was I don't know, maybe you could even have a letdown knowing that now we got this easy, we only need 1 of these last 3.
Yeah, you really, your mind can play tricks on you in a situation like that. The year before, when we were the underdog, we won the first 2 as well. And what I remember about that one is we kind of put UCLA in a corner. And when you put a team in the corner where they have nothing to lose, right? They're down 0-2. You come out in that second flight really swinging, maybe playing a little more loose, more aggressive than you would have normally if you were maybe tied 1-1 or up 2-0. They were down 0-2 last year. They were down 0-2 this year. So never count them out. I knew they were going to put up a fight, but I knew that our women were ready to go for that fight, and only needing 1 in that second flight, I was very confident, but I knew it wasn't over until that horn went off.
Yeah, it's funny. The last year when that happened, you kind of got the feeling that, all right, USC took your foot off the gas a little bit, and it came down to the Twins. That it was different, right? It was 2-2.
Yeah.
I ended up losing 2 of those points, and then the Twins close it out. And I talked to them, when we talked to them earlier. I think it was Audrey that was saying like that was one of her favorite moments as a collegiate volleyball player, just because that was it. Like you have to win this match to win the national championship. They closed it out again this year, but there were still 2 other matches going on, so you could have won. So it felt like they were 3-0, but it seemed like did it seem like almost as close as last year was too, even though it was 3-0 instead of 3-2.
Yeah, it was very much like last year was sketchy because we went up 2-0 in that first flight. Then we got beat bad at the 1 spot, and we also lost at the 5. And so that left us down to the 3s. So all the pressure was there. Whereas this year, we go up 2-0, but then we're in the fight at the 1 spot. We actually, when the horn blew, they were, I believe, up 9-4 in the 3rd. So that looked solid. The 5s looked solid. They were in position, but it was the Nourse twins who took it to them. The interesting story about the Nourse twins, that first year in 2021 when we won the national championship, they actually lost their match in the national championship and were furious about it. And they vowed never to lose again. And I don't think they lost another match in the national championship in that 2nd, 3rd, and 4th year as Trojans. And who better to be on the court? What a joy it was, not only last year, but this year, being on their court, seeing them close it out in just the professional manner that they're accustomed to.
So you guys get 4 in a row. I mean, it's like, okay. I mean, their collegiate career, they won the national championship like pretty much every year, right?
Yep.
So where do you guys go from here? I mean, you had some seniors, you had some people that are out of eligibility. Is it another sort of kind of rebuilding year, but where do you guys kind of go from here?
Yeah, after the 22 championship, we lost 12 players, and that was a big rebuilding year, and we're able to pull it off in 23. This year, very similar. We're going to lose 8 to 10 players. We're going to have to build up that core and get ready to go, but it'll be very difficult to replace Megan Kraft and Delaney Maple. Megan Kraft, a 2-time National Player of the Year, and the Nourse twins, their leadership. Nick Nourse and Delaney Maple were the captains of our squad the last 2 years. So we're not only going to have to get more players out there, new players, but we're also going to have to replace that leadership, which is going to be huge. But we got a plan in place. We got players coming in. We're working the transfer portal and making sure that we're equipped and ready to go in 2025. But like I said, I haven't even had time to celebrate this one. So it seems like each year it gets a little busier, but I'll take it any day of the week.
What's so a lot of our fans that are watching, they follow USC football recruiting intently. What is the recruiting world like for beach volleyball? You mentioned the transfer portal. A lot of fans are familiar with that, but the high school recruiting, how do you kind of balance that? And where is it Southern California recruiting or all over the country?
Yeah, I'd say the hotbeds are Southern Cal, Texas, and in Florida. Okay. I think we had 7 players from Texas on our team this year, if you can believe it.
Wow.
So we go wherever we can, get the talent. And June 15th is the big day for recruiting. That's when the class of 26 will open up, and we as a coaching staff can reach out to the recruits. Until then, we can't. It can only go one way. The recruits can send us letters, send us video, the whole deal, but we can't converse. And so June 15th on midnight, going into June 15th, some phone calls are made in the middle of the night, and some text messages and some emails are put out there. But you're trying to get some of the great recruits, and they kind of get gobbled up quickly because we're a sport that has 6 scholarships. We can break up those scholarships, but it's called an equivalency sport. So we're kind of shorthanded in a sense. So you can imagine it's a little bit scarce, right? If you're a top player and a top school's offering you 75%, if you wait a week, that may go to a different player because there's not full scholarships sitting around. To give you a little contrast, football has 85 full scholarships, basketball has 15 full scholarships, and they have to give out full scholarships. We only have 6. We're a little bit behind the 8 ball there with that, but we can break up those scholarships. So a lot of time is spent being a general manager and kind of managing those scholarships, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been a great learning experience, and I've been blessed some tremendous support by not only Jen Cohen in the athletic department, but also President Folt. She loves the sport as well.
That's interesting. A lot of the sports, especially on the male side, with Title IX, usually female sports seem to be fuller as far as number of scholarships goes. But for only 6 full rides, is it typically like people are getting like half scholarships, or is it split around? Does anyone get full ones? Like, how do you kind of manage that as the general manager with all of that?
Yeah, it's across the board. If someone warrants a full scholarship, we try to make it happen. USC is great with financial aid as well. But yeah, some people are on 50% scholarships. Some people are on 75. Some people are on 25%. You kind of balance it out. And everyone's got a different theory. I mean, you could go out and give 6 full scholarships, but that would be 3 pairs, right? You still have 2 more pairs, and I think it is crucial to be successful at the 4 and 5 pair. If you're successful at the 4 and 5, I think that's where you're going to win your national championships, because the margins are so slim at the top when you're playing the number 1 team at every school. Anything can happen, and it gets a little dicey. So you have to have a balanced team. And the cool thing about our format is the number 5 team is no less important than the number 1 team. It's all worth 1 point. But we do have 10 starters, only 6 scholarships. That's an NCAA rule. I'm sure if that limit goes away, USC would invest even more heavily in beach volleyball because of not only the success, but the popularity of it on our campus.
There's actually a lot of talk about that. I wanted to talk about kind of recruiting in this, when you are the 4-time defending champion, that might be a little bit different in the recruiting world. You probably get a lot more calls, but there are, the House case right now, and there's, different legislation kind of going through where they're negotiating these sort of things out, where like baseball comes up a lot, where I think you only get like 11 point something scholarships, and instead it would be the schools would say, hey, you have 35 roster spots, you can have 35 scholarships. The same sort of thing with some of the other sports. I thought it applied more to male sports, but this is one, a newer sport too, that would probably apply to. How much would that change? Because I think for years, USC they've won more baseball national championships than anybody, and they haven't won, since '98. And, part of it being a private school, it's very expensive. Stanford, I think all student athletes can get, or all students can get like full financial aid, where, you don't have that kind of endowment at USC. Right. But would it change how much would it change the process for you if you had a full complement of scholarships to give out?
That's what I dream of, Ryan. I dream of that every night. But I'm on a crusade to make that happen. You're absolutely right. And you're very versed on the subject that the NCAA is looking at getting rid of scholarship limits and just putting roster limits on sports, which would be absolutely fantastic because, as you said, USC is not an inexpensive place to go to school. It has a pretty high price tag, so it can be challenging competing against some of these other schools. Even a private like Stanford, who has a little more flexibility, with a $45 billion endowment, as opposed to, I believe we have a $6 billion endowment. You'd probably know that more than I would, but the access to that financial aid, the rules are different at every school. So we would benefit tremendously if scholarship limits were lifted. The university could come up with a number. Hopefully that would cover the 10 starters. Maybe 12 scholarships would be 10 starters and two alternates. If we had full scholarships for that amount of players, it would put us more on an even playing field with the other schools, because that's the biggest challenge is financial. And it would be so great if there was more opportunity for these young women.
Well, the way it is now, we'll see. I mean, this could be changing. Next time we talk to you next year after the four-peat, maybe the rules will be different. But just looking ahead. But I would say, like for now, what the recruiting process goes. I mean, what are the biggest challenges? Sometimes people, UCLA's been there very close, the last few years. They get really good players too. What's kind of the biggest challenge? You have like the resume, right? Like, hey, you want to win a national championship, come to USC. But there's got to be challenges being on top too. And, one of them probably being those scholarship limits and how expensive the school is.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably one of our biggest hurdles when we're dealing with trying to get as much talent as we can. We run into those financial walls at times, but the great thing about USC, despite it being a private school, an expensive school, it's the reputation that comes with USC. It is the best school as far as I'm considered when you balance athletics and academics. They want excellence in the classroom. They want excellence on the court. And then, Ryan, I don't have to tell you how tight-knit the alumni family is and the networking. You get a degree from USC, it means something special, and it can take you a long way. If you do your job, you network, you really keep those contacts. When you get out in the real world, you have a phone number of someone who can help you in just about any field out there. And so it's a special place.
For sure. The one interesting aspect, we were talking about this before we started recording, the move to the Big Ten. Like now we're talking like weeks away. It's been like the sort of thing like, oh, that's going to eventually happen, and now it really is. Like looking at the USC football schedule, and they just announced this week that USC will play, in Ann Arbor at Michigan on CBS. The times are coming out for these games. And it's becoming more real. Yeah. What's the reality for beach volleyball going into the Big Ten? I know you mentioned that there's the four Pac-12 schools, former Pac-12 schools going in, all have teams, and how is that going to work with the Big Ten?
Well, like you said, we have 4 teams joining the Big Ten. That's Washington, Oregon, UCLA, and USC. Nebraska kind of dabbles in beach. They have a lot of their indoor players come out. We would need 6 teams to make it an official conference and get an automatic qualifier into the national championship. So we will work on that. But for the first 2 years, next year coming up and the year following, we're going to join the Mountain Pacific Sports Federation, which is the MPSF. And that conference is designed for situations like this. They sponsor water polo, they sponsor men's volleyball. It's basically going to be the Pac-12, mainly the teams that were in the Pac-12, but we will use this year and a half to kind of bridge, and it's an important thing for everybody, for Power 5, or shall I say Power 4 conferences to sponsor. So we want to get the Big Ten to sponsor it, but it won't happen for 2 years. So the first 2 years will be with the MPSF, and that'll make the transition a little smoother because some of those other schools have not adopted it. But remember, the Big Ten is the most powerful conference for women's indoor volleyball. So they're no stranger to volleyball. Now we just need to get them versed on beach volleyball. But I think it's going to be a great relationship, a great partnership once we get up and running.
So with the Pac-12 right now, how many of the Pac-12 teams were playing women's beach volleyball?
9. We had 9 of 12.
Okay. And then those, I assume the conferences that everyone else is going to probably don't have a lot of beach volleyball either, right? I guess the ACC probably does with Florida State, right?
ACC doesn't. I mean, they have the own conference there, so so Stanford, who is going to the ACC, I believe, they will stay in the MPSF with us. Cal will stay as well. I believe the Arizona schools are going to the Big 12, and the Big 12 is going to sponsor beach volleyball, but they won't have that minimum number of 6, so they might not get an automatic qualifier just yet. But we're in this kind of transition, not only as the sport of women's beach volleyball grows, it's not even 10 years old. 2016 was the first year, but also this conference kind of realignment. I think in the long run, it's going to be a benefit to the sport.
Yeah, I mean, I know conference realignment stinks. No one wants to see the Pac-12 get destroyed like it does, but this might, you guys going to the Big Ten sort of forces their hand. Like, okay, we got, the best, the only teams that ever won an NCAA championship in beach volleyball now joined our conference, right? Like it's only been USC and UCLA. So yeah, we got to do something about it. So that'll be kind of interesting. But I guess you guys won't have. There's going to be some crazy travel for some of the other sports, right? But that won't be the case for you guys, at least to start.
Yeah, it won't be the case for us to start. And even if when we do join the Big Ten in the future, it's not a huge deal because we have the ability to play 2 duels a day, right? So we could go on a road trip and play some Big Ten schools, and we could knock out 4 schools in a weekend, right?
Okay.
So whereas basketball usually wouldn't play more than 1 game in one day. You usually have a day's rest in between. And football, of course, just one game a week. So we could go. We had what was called the Pac-12 North and the Pac-12 South, where we would have a tournament. So you would play everybody in your conference. We could do the same thing, have one back east and one here on the West Coast, and it would be pretty simple for us. So not a big problem, it's just a matter of getting other schools involved and starting programs as well.
So what's the sort of schedule like for you now, coming off, May, like you just had graduation and all that kind of stuff. Like where do you guys do much over the summer, or is it kind of taking a break, or what ends up going on now?
Yeah, the summer, I love our schedule, right? We start training when we get back to school. We have the whole fall to do our strength and conditioning and get strong and ready for the season. Then come the new year, we hit the ground running. Season starts in mid-February and goes until May, and then it's summer again. So the summer looks like for most of our athletes playing as many tournaments as they can. I know there's a Huntington Beach professional AVP event this weekend, and a lot of players are playing in the qualifier for that.
Oh, cool.
For myself, I do commentary for the AVP for the last few years, and also been able to work with the Olympics and NBC. Rio was my first Olympics as a sideline reporter. And then Tokyo was a little different of an Olympics with not a crowd there, but I will be in Paris. I'll head there at the end of June. I'm sorry, at the end of July until the finals, which I believe are on August 10th. And so I'll be there about 20 days and doing sideline reporting for NBC. So that's going to be a blast. I'm looking for a great summer, and you mentioned at the top of the show, huge honor being inducted into the USA Volleyball Hall of Fame.
Congratulations.
That'll take place next week in Columbus, Ohio. So a lot of stuff going on right now, but trying to make everything, and you know how it is. It's you got to strike when what do they say, when the iron's hot?
Yeah. No, congratulations. That is amazing, and it's interesting. Doug Gottlieb just he's a basketball guy, got a head coaching job, University of Wisconsin, Green Bay, but he's also Fox Sports Radio, and he's still doing his show. And people are like, how are you going to be able to do that? Yours seems to work out okay because like their season ends, and then you can do like AVP. Yeah, I know. Huntington, I think, was supposed to be Hermosa, and then they moved it down to Huntington or something. There was like a schedule conflict or something. But.
Yeah, there's always politics, it seems like, especially in California with the Coastal Commission. Getting an event on the sand always seems to be a challenge with permits and whatnot. I don't know exactly where it stands, but every year we need to be playing in Manhattan Beach, in Hermosa Beach. I believe in Orange County and Huntington Beach. It'd be nice to have a tournament in San Diego as well. But the AVP has been through some growing pains over the years, and I just hope they find their footing, and there's a forum and a platform for these collegiate athletes when they graduate to have a career in beach volleyball.
Yeah, because I was talking, when we were mentioning with the twins, they're definitely going to be training, and they're going to still go to grad school, but try to train and probably play in those qualifiers and things like that. They said they would be more domestic, but it seems like there's a lot of opportunities, or maybe more opportunities overseas than there are domestically sometimes for some of these players.
Well, there's an international circuit and a domestic circuit, and during my career, I played a lot in both because you need to qualify for the Olympics playing internationally. If you're not going for that, you might want to stay home and play domestically. Sometimes you need to play in both from an income standpoint. It's unfortunately not as lucrative as tennis or golf. It would make it a lot easier if it was. But in terms of the Nourse twins, I mean, they're going to do whatever they want to do. They are the epitome of professionals, and they get it done. I know you've spoken to them, and like I said, I love being on their court when everything's on the line because they invite that type of pressure. I think they're going to be running their own sports agency or whatever they choose to do. It'll be so fun to see what direction they go in.
The opportunities for the girls when they're done playing, what can you guys do to kind of help them get out there and grow their careers athletically if they possible? How does that kind of work?
Well, that usually happens while they're at school, right? I have a lot of players that say, hey, I want to be training to become a professional one day. And I remember Julia Scholes a few years ago came and said, hey, I want to be a pro. And so train me like that. And so we pushed the envelope on a lot of players that want to play after their collegiate career. And we want to make them and maximize them to be their best self, whether they're staying, in school and college volleyball is the end of the line, or if they want to go professional, or if they even want to go to the Olympics. So to see, like right now, Julia Scholes is the reigning champion at Manhattan Beach. She went out and won the biggest tournament that there is in Manhattan Beach. You have... I was able to have the opportunity to coach Sarah Hughes and Kelly Chang when I was an assistant coach, and now they are world champions and headed to the Olympics. They just confirmed it about a week and a half ago. So that is really exciting. Tina Gradina from Latvia, she finished 4th in the Tokyo Olympics, and she also won Fort Lauderdale, an AVP event, and she did that with Haley Harward, also another Trojan. And so if you look out there, that's one of the things that makes us most proud is when players go to the next level and have success. But after they graduate, honestly, when we get home after a national championship, Wednesday, we get home Sunday night. Wednesday is graduation, and everybody disperses in different directions. So if we haven't trained them up until that point, the training's probably not coming from us. But one thing I always have is an open door policy for them to come back, be a part of the team, help the new recruits and the youngsters that are coming in, and that kind of family that we've created. I mean, it's so special when Sarah Hughes or Kelly Chang comes by. They're world champions and not only can play with some of the players, but also give them that advice that they've learned throughout their years.
Do you guys do I think Anna did this before, but like a alumni thing where you have people come back and go to the courts at USC? Yeah,
we always do that in usually February or March, and we make a big deal out of it. It's a party at our courts. We cater it, have a bar there, invite everybody back. Some of them want to play, some of them want to just come and socialize. But we had April Ross come back, and she's just an amazing representative of the Trojan family and what she's done. She won back-to-back national championships on the indoor team about 20 years ago, and now she's the reigning gold medalist from Tokyo. And it's just so cool when everybody can come back and you get the young generation being able to talk to some of those older veterans.
We'll let you guys know you got to go back, go rebuild your team and get everything ready. But if you do rebuild it again and you do well and you get to another run for a national championship, instead of going to Gulf Shores, you'll be locally now in Huntington Beach. I know we talked about this kind of last year. Mm-hmm. I know the girls really liked going there too. I mean, I guess every time you went, they won a championship, so there was a lot of success. But
right.
Are you kind of looking forward to the opportunity to maybe play on the West Coast for the national championship?
Yeah, great question. Gulf Shores is really cool because they started everything, right? When it was an AVCA championship, they were there to kind of facilitate, host, and a really great space. And then I believe the NCAA kind of rewarded them with that to start off there. And they've done a fantastic job. It's one of the best places to play. It's very special. The hard thing is getting there, right? You got to fly either through Houston or Dallas. There's no direct flights, and then you land in either Pensacola or Mobile, and you got to drive a little bit. So that kind of barrier to entry for the fan is a little bit challenging. But ESPN's done a fantastic job running the championship. If you've seen it, it's just beautifully shot. And it's a special place. I know I'll miss it. We've had a lot of success there. But as you said, it fits, right? Southern California, the national championship of beach volleyball. And so many fans are going to be there. Almost every team, not every team, but a lot of them, right, are not going to have to get on a plane. You're going to be able to drive there. And I expect it to be a huge event in terms of the fan base because of how popular volleyball is in Southern California. But it is going to be a tall order to put on the professionalism and the event that they have done in Gulf Shores all these years. I think everybody who's been there knows it's a special place. It's a place where anything can happen. There can be lightning, there can be weather, there can be rain, there can be delays. And I think the powers that be knew that this was the last year because we had phenomenal weather the entire week. And so it went out with a bang. I was happy we were able to win that fourth one. But, the reason we've been able to win these championships is that we focus 1 year at a time and kind of try to put those that you've achieved behind you so that there's not that pressure. Even though it's going to be there, we don't focus on it. We focus on, hey, no one's done anything here in 2024. We got to go out and get after it.
Probably some bittersweet memories or whatever, just knowing that you've had a lot of success there. But I remember you talking about that last year, that how welcoming they were, and just it was. A lot of people were thought like, oh, you would hate it there, and like, no, everyone seemed to really love going there. But being able to drive to Orange County, I think, will be helpful. I talked to the Twins about what was the sand like, because a lot of the sand here is very deep and people come from all over the world to train, and they said it was pretty jumpy, like you could get out of it pretty good. Does that change? No, I don't know if that gave you guys an advantage or if everyone would play that way, but how would that change things, knowing that you might be playing in deeper sand for trying to win a title?
Yeah, you know what I think? When you're on the hard packed sand, a jumper's beach, as you say, Gulf Shores it's just a finer, really white, fine sand that packs easy. So it doesn't take away a lot of your jump. I think that's more of an equalizer because everybody can get up. Everybody can jump really well. When you play in some of these Southern California events, Manhattan Beach, Laguna Beach, Hermosa Beach, Huntington Beach, the sand's a lot deeper. And so those that are conditioned only survive in those. So it's kind of a great equalizer when it's a hard surface and you start to see who has the strength and who doesn't when you play in the deep sand. So that should be the case when we're playing in Huntington Beach, and it'll be definitely a different environment.
Nice. All right. Well, Dain Blanton, it's been a lot of fun getting to know some of your team and, of course, all the success you've had. Congratulations on the Hall of Fame induction coming up, and then, of course, going to the Olympics. That's not too bad. Yeah. And then you got your signing day and everything kind of coming up, and getting ready for building the next year. But congratulations to the four-peat and everything, and all your success. Thanks again for coming in.
I appreciate you having us on, and hopefully we can do it again next year.
Maybe, it's a tradition. We'll just keep this going. Like, I get to talk to Dain Blanton after he wins another title. It's a lot of fun. So thank you for coming in, and everyone else. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I know it's a little break from football, but you're not going to see a sports program at USC have much more success than what Dain Blanton's doing right now with USC Women's Beach Volleyball. So for Dain, I'm Ryan. Hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we will talk to you next time.
Fight on.